noticed in Rocky Mountain Power's application for approval of the 2024 energy balancing account. It's Commission docket number 24-035-01. My name is Michael Hammer. I am the Commission's designated presiding officer. Let's take appearances, please, beginning with Rocky Mountain Power.
Thank you. This is Ajay Kumar appearing on behalf of Rocky Mountain Power. Additionally, I believe there's a couple other folks from the company, including Mr. Painter and Mr. Meredith, who will be our witnesses today, and Ms. Smith, who is co-counsel with me on this case.
Thank you. And for the Division of Public Utilities.
Patrick Griecu and Patricia Schmidt, Assistant Attorneys General, representing the Division of Public Utilities. And our witness today will be Gary Smith, and I believe Brenda Salter and Doug Wheelwright from the division are also on.
For the Office of Consumer Services.
Yes, this is Robert Moore, the AG's office for the Office of Consumer Services. With me today from the office is Jacob Zachary.
And is UAE's counsel on the line? All right. Mr. Kumar, would you like to call your first witness?
Yes, the company would like to call Mr. Jack Painter.
Mr. Painter, do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Kumar.
Mr. Painter, could you state and spell your name?
Yes, Jack Painter, Jackpainter.
And how are you employed by Rocky Mountain Power?
I am a net power cost advisor.
And have you filed testimony in this proceeding?
I have.
And if I were to ask you those same questions in your testimony today, would you give substantially the same answers?
Yes.
Have you prepared a summary for the commission today?
I have.
Could you please provide that summary?
Yes. Good morning. On May 1st, 2024, Rocky Mountain Power filed its annual energy balancing account, or EBA, requesting to recover $455 million of EBA-related costs for calendar year 2023. In its application, the company requested to recover this amount over a period of 24 months to mitigate rate impacts, which results in a 2.4% average EBA rate increase through Schedule 94, which the company requests become effective July 1st, 2024 on an interim basis. The request in this application includes 6 main components. 1, approximately $450.9 million of EBA-related cost. 2, a credit of approximately $41.4 million for sales made to a special contract customer. 3, approximately $1.7 million in cost for Utah Situs Resources. 4, a credit of approximately $153,000 to reflect the 2023 EBA order. 5, approximately $1.1 million adjustment to reflect the remaining balance from the 2022 EBA. And 6, a charge of approximately $42.3 million of interest. The EBA rate increase is driven by higher net power costs than are currently in base rates, which was partially due to coal fuel supply constraints and increased market power and natural gas prices, as described in more detail in my pre-filed direct testimony. The DPU, OCS, and UAE all filed comments in this proceeding. Both the DPU and OCS recommend that the Commission approve an interim rate request on a 12-month basis in order to reduce the impact of the carrying charges. However, UAE supports the company's original request of a 24-month collection period to mitigate customer rate impact. Additionally, the DPU also recommends that the company's inclusion of interest accrued through the rate collection period not be included in interim rates. Finally, the DPU also identified a correction to a formula in the EBA calculation correcting the interest rate that the company agrees with. Rocky Mountain Power is not opposed to the adoption of the DPU or OCS recommendation for a 12-month collection period. But if the Commission decided to adopt the 24-month collection period, the company believes that inclusion of interest accrued through the collection period is more likely to reflect actual customer rates and avoids that interest increasing and being rolled over into next year's EBA filing. The company's proposal is to spread the deferred EBA costs across customer classes consistent with an EBA allocator that allocates the base EBA amounts approved by the Commission in the 2020 GRC, as described in the application and direct testimony of Mr. Robert Meredith. This proposed rate change is consistent with prior year's filing because it uses substantially similar methodologies to arrive at total EBA cost. Using these methodologies, the company has determined that EBA costs have increased and are more likely to reflect actual power cost than the current base rates. The interim rates requested by the company will be subject to future audit by the Division of Public Utilities and evaluation at a hearing by the Commission and other parties. For these reasons, the company's interim rate is consistent with prior year's filing and is more likely to reflect actual power cost than current base rates. Therefore, I respectfully request that the Commission approve the interim rates per the application to be effective July 1st, 2024, subject to rate refund or surcharge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Painter. Your Honor, I would like to move for the admission of the company's application in this proceeding and Mr. Painter's testimony, and make Mr. Painter available for cross-examination and questions from the bench.
The exhibits are admitted. Thank you. We'll go to you, Mr. Griku. Any cross?
I just have one clarifying question. Mr. Painter, in the comments it said in your testimony just now was that the company was not opposed to using a 12-month collection period. And would that collection period be used for interim and final rates?
It would be used for interim rates, and then final rates would be established per the order after the hearing.
Okay.
But if the question is, would the amortization period change, I think, between interim rates and final order, I would not. The company is not proposing that.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions, Mr. Griku?
I do not, thank you.
Mr. Moore?
The office has no questions. Thank you.
All right. Any redirect, Mr. Kumar?
No redirect.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Painter. Mr. Kumar, would you like to call another witness?
Yes, the company would like to call Mr. Meredith.
Mr. Meredith, do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Thanks. Go ahead, Mr. Kumar.
Sure. Could you state and spell your name for the record, Mr. Meredith?
Yes, my name is Robert Meredith, Robert. Meredith is spelled Meredith.
And how are you employed by Rocky Mountain Power?
I'm the Director of Pricing and Tariff Policy for Rocky Mountain Power, or for Pacific Core.
And Mr. Meredith, Your Honor, instead of providing a summary, I'm just going to ask Mr. Meredith a couple questions and then make him available for cross-examination, just due to the truncated nature of his testimony, the short nature of his testimony.
That's fine.
So, Mr. Meredith, can you describe where to find the 12 versus 24-month amortization of interim rates?
Yes, the rates for the 24-month amortization proposed by the company can be found in the company's direct filing, specifically on my exhibit RMM 3. And then the rates for the 12-month amortization were included with the company's reply comments.
Okay. Mr. Meredith, does your work papers include the additional $826,579 that was identified by the DPU?
No, my work papers do not include the additional $826,579 carrying charge issue identified by the DPU.
And aside from these clarifications we discussed, do you have any changes or corrections to your testimony?
No.
And if I were to ask you the same questions in your testimony today, would you have the same answers?
Yes.
And then, Your Honor, I'd like to move for the admission of Mr. Meredith's testimony and exhibits and make him available for questions, cross-examination and questions from the bench.
They're admitted. And we'll go to you again, Mr. Grecu.
I have no questions.
Mr. Moore?
The office has no questions.
And I have none. Thank you, Mr. Meredith.
Thanks.
And did you have another witness, Mr. Kumar?
Nope, that was it.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Grecu, would you like to call your first witness?
The division would like to call Mr. Gary Smith.
Mr. Smith, do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Gary Smith, Garysmith.
And by whom are you employed and what is your position?
I'm a utility technical consultant for the Division of Public Utilities.
And what is your business address?
It's 160 East, 300 South, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Could you provide a brief overview of your educational background and relevant work experience?
Yes, I've been employed at the division roughly 6-7 years, and I have a background, a bachelor's in economics, and have dealt with financial matters for a considerable amount of time.
And have you participated in this docket on behalf of the division?
Yes.
Did you review the company's application, filed testimonies, exhibits, and work papers filed in this docket?
Yes.
Did you prepare and cause to be filed the division's comments and DPU exhibits 1 through 6 filed on May 24th, 2024?
Yes.
Do you have any changes or corrections to any of those filings?
I do not.
And do you adopt the contents of those filings as your testimony today?
Yes.
After the division's recommended adjustments that you'll describe, do the proposed interim rates appear consistent with prior year's filings, and is it more likely to reflect actual power costs than the current base rates?
Yes, the rates reflect power costs that more accurately reflect power costs than what's in base right now.
And based on your preliminary review, would approval of the company's proposed interim rates with the division's recommended adjustments be just, reasonable, and in the public interest?
Yes,
Do you have a summary to share today?
I do.
Please proceed.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to address Rocky Mountain Power's or company's request for net power cost recovery on an interim basis in advance of the Public Service Commission's final decision on the company's 2024 Energy Balancing Account or EBA filing. On May 1st, 2024, the company filed its application requesting a recovery of approximately $455 million in deferred net power costs for the deferral year of 2023, with interim rates increases effective July 1st, 2024. The reasons for the increased costs include the following: decreased coal plant generation compared to the EBA base established in 2020, due mostly to coal fuel supply issues, underperforming wind plants, unrealized production tax credits, and hydro generation lower than base, increased reliance on expensive replacement power from market purchases made at higher market prices than base, resulting in the largest increase in the EBA deferral. Increased natural gas fuel expense due to higher average prices than assumed in base, and the lowest wholesale sales volume since 2021 due to the lack of company plant generation. To evaluate the company's request for interim rates, the Division of Public Utilities performed a preliminary review of the company's application, including the testimonies, attachments, and proposed revisions to the Electric Service Schedule 94 tariff. During its preliminary review, the division discovered an incorrect interest rate used in the company's calculation of accrued interest from April 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024, and recommends increasing the 2023 deferral by $826,579 to correct this calculation. The company's filing includes the following inconsistencies with prior year's applications: a 24-month EBA collection period from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026. More than $24 million of included interest expected to accrue through the rate effective period from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026, or collection period interest. Under Utah Code Section 54.713.5, the company must make an adequate prima facie showing that the proposed interim rate filing appears consistent with prior year's filings. The proposed 24-month collection period and the inclusion of collection period interest in interim rates are changes introduced in the 2024 EBA, inconsistent with prior year's filings. The division recommends disallowing these changes primarily to avoid conflicts with this statute. In addition to conflicts with the statute related to the introduced changes, the division recommends continuing with the established 12-month collection period to avoid collection recovery overlap. The company's purpose in proposing the 24-month collection period is to mitigate rate impacts to customers. However, the first quarter 2024 EBA results filed in this docket show a remarkable increase over the first quarter 2023, indicating that the issues that have created or contributed to the trend of increasingly high costs are likely to continue for the foreseeable future. The division believes that deferring $227.5 million as proposed by the company into the collection year 2025-26 on top of another likely large cost recovery for the 2024 deferral year would eventually compound the rate impacts to customers and incur additional unnecessary interest. Introducing a two-year collection only postpones a large rate shock by 1 year while introducing added costs and inflexibility. Reverting to a 1-year collection period could prove exceptionally difficult with rising prices and the uncertainty of increases in EBA base rates in the company's upcoming general rate case. A 1-year collection minimizes carrying charges and avoids challenges created by a 2-year amortization. The division has concerns with the included approximately $24 million of interest that would accrue in its proposed collection period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026. The company has not included collection period interest in its prior initial filings or in its request for interim rates. However, the company has demonstrated that it has collected statutorily approved interest in its deferral collections without providing details of these collections unless requested. The division requests that in subsequent filings, the company include a report on its actual monthly collections, including collection period interest and any adjustments in the deferral year report for the year in which the collections occur. In its reply comments, the company stated that it had agreed to this request. The company's inclusion of collection period interest in its initial report diverges from prior filings. The large requested deferral and the large amount of associated collection period interest, which is further increased by the company's requested 24-month collection period, have brought attention to this issue. After removing the approximate $24 million of collection period interest and adding the $826,579 rate collection, the division calculated an adjusted interim rate deferral of $43.6 million. Based on the division's experience with this balancing account audits and annual commission proceedings, the division recommends an interim rate collection based on the division's calculated adjusted deferral amount of $431.6 million and consistent with prior year's filings a collection period of 12 months effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. The division is not necessarily opposed to include collection period interest in interim rates in the future, but the decision should be made in the Commission's main order in this docket, not in an interim rate request where there is little time to consider implications, verify calculations, and more fully adjudicate the question of whether an account designed for the collection of previously incurred actual expenses ought to be used to collect prospective amounts and whether interest should be considered an exception. The division concludes that the interim rate increase requested as modified in the division's recommendation is more likely to reflect actual net power costs than current base rates. The division will continue to audit the EBA filing and present additional findings and recommendations in its final report. This concludes my summary.
Thank you. I just had one clarifying question for you. I think you may have slightly misstated the division's calculated adjusted deferral amount the first time you stated it. I think you said it correctly the second time, but I just wanted to make sure and confirm. So what amount is the division's calculated adjusted deferred amount for this docket?
431.6 million.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
At this point, I'd like to move to admit the division's comments in DPU exhibits 1 through 6 that were filed on May 24th, 2024.
They're admitted.
Thank you. And the witness is available for cross-examination and questions from the hearing officer.
Mr. Kumar?
Yes, just a few questions. Mr. Smith, you stated in your summary that the company relied on expensive replacement power, but the DPU has not completed its audit of the EBA yet, has it?
No, it has not.
And so at this time, the DPU is not DPU has not filed any testimony about the prudence of those costs. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Mr. Moore?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Griecu, any redirect?
No, thank you.
I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
And you have no other witnesses, Mr. Griecu?
Nothing further from the division.
We'll go to Mr. Moore.
The Office of Consumer Services calls Jacob Zachary and asks that he be sworn.
Mr. Zachary, do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Jacob Zachary, JACOB ZACHARY.
How are you employed and what is your business address?
I'm a utility analyst for the Office of Consumer Services, 160 East, 300 South, Salt Lake City, Utah.
In your capacity as utility analyst, do you review the filings in this docket?
Yes.
Did you participate in the preparation and filing of the Office of Consumer Services June 4th, 2024 reply comment?
Yes.
Do you have any changes you'd like to make to the reply comment to this time?
No.
If I ask you questions according to the subject of the reply comments, will your answers be the same as the information contained in the reply comments?
Yes.
Do you adopt the reply comments in your testimony today?
Yes.
At this point, the office would move for the admission of the office's June 4th, 2024 reply comments.
They're admitted.
Have you prepared a summary of the office's Consumer position in this hearing?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Rocky Mountain Power filed an application for approval of the 2024 energy balancing account and requested an interim rate increase effective July 1, 2024, based on the calculated 2023 deferral of $455 million. Rocky Mountain Power indicated the increase in the EBA deferral was driven by coal supply limitations, higher market natural gas prices, as well as extreme weather events. To mitigate rate impacts, RMP proposed to amortize the deferral over 24 months rather than the standard 12 months. In its preliminary, the Division of Public Utilities challenged the 24-month amortization period as inconsistent with Utah Code Section 54.713.5 and recommended using the standard 12-month amortization period. Additionally, the DPU discovered an incorrect interest rate was used in calculating the interest for the second quarter of 2024. The DPU adjusted 2023 deferral is $432 million to be collected over 12 months. The OCS reviewed RMP's application as well as the DPU's preliminary review. While the OCS appreciates RMP's concern for the rate impact of such a large deferral, we do not support a 24-month amortization. We are concerned the underlying drivers of the increasing costs are likely to continue, which would create a disincentive to return to a 12-month collection period. Thus, a longer amortization period would likely result in ratepayers paying for portions of multiple true-ups across multiple years. In this environment of increasing costs, we do not want high carrying costs adding to the financial burden. The OCS understands there are circumstances where the benefits of a longer amortization outweigh the additional carrying costs, but in this case, the OCS agrees with the DPU and recommends the deferral be amortized over a single year. The OCS also agrees with the DPU adjustment to remove the entire $24.2 million in carrying costs. This amount is partially due to the proposed extended amortization, and the remaining balance must be adjusted out for interim rates to be consistent with prior year's filings. The OCS supports an interim EBA rate based on the DPU's adjusted deferral with a one-year collection from July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025. That concludes my summary. Thank you.
Mr. Zachary is available for cross and questions from the hearing officer.
Mr. Kumar,
No questions from Rocky Mountain Power. Thank you.
Mr. Grieco,
I have no questions.
and I have none. Thank you, Mr. Zachary.
Thank you.
No other witnesses, Mr. Moore?
No other witnesses.
All right. Is there anything from any party at all before we adjourn? Forgive me, I'm losing my voice. Thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.